Hey folks, this is Chris Crazyhouse. I want to welcome you one and all to the inaugural episode of Fan Art Fridays. It's going to be a new segment here on my YouTube channel where I feature myself doing fan art of popular characters that I do not own, but just that I am a fan of. And I'll also be just sitting back, relaxing, and talking with you about, my familiarity with the character and how I got to know the character over time. Just sharing some nostalgia and some memories, and maybe you folks can share some of your nostalgia and memories of these characters in the comments section or within the live chat. So normally when you see me here on this channel, I'm always drawing my own original characters, but I decided I want to just add a little bit more content, but also just to have some fun on Fridays and showcase how I like to draw characters that I do not own, just characters that I've always had fun reading about or watching, and doing my own versions of them and showing you, maybe giving you some of my ideas about how I draw such characters, and maybe giving you guys, pointing you in the right direction to some artists who do the character great justice. So that's what we'll be doing in this segment on my channel. Now, this very first episode is going to feature a character that I'm sure most of you know by now, and that is the Incredible Hulk, Dr. Bruce Banner, who was hit by gamma rays in a gamma ray explosion, and it unleashed the dark side of himself in this huge hulking monster that is fueled by rage and agitation. And it is a beloved character that most of us have really enjoyed over the years. Okay, so going all the way back into antiquity of the 80s, that is when I discovered the Incredible Hulk. So my very first knowledge of the Hulk was actually through the comic books. My dad would buy me comics, and that's kind of like one of the ways I learned how to read, was to reading comic books and also reading the comics in the newspaper. And the Incredible Hulk was one of my favorites, just because, just from a young child standpoint, he was extremely colorful. So just being able to see this very colorful character, and he was big and mean and a monster. And I think a lot of young kids are attracted to the Hulk because, if you think about it, he acts like a toddler and a small child acts. Okay, he has these outbursts where he just can't control himself. So I think that's what attracts a lot of especially a lot of young boys to that character. Someone that's super strong and can back up his tantrum pretty much. Normally when child has a tantrum, he can't really do anything, but the Hulk, when he has a tantrum, he can tear up an entire city, right? So I think that's what attracted him to me. And then later on, I got into watching the Incredible Hulk TV show, and at that time I think it was off the air, but they were still doing those like made-for-TV movies, like the Return of the Incredible Hulk, where it featured the Hulk and Thor in that one. And then they had the Trial of the Incredible Hulk, where it featured Daredevil, a very poor imitation of Daredevil in my opinion, but if you've seen it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. But I will watch some of those old episodes with my dad, with the Hulk and Bill Bixby playing Dr. Banner, and Lou Ferrigno playing the actual Hulk. So that was kind of like my getting me into the knowledge of the Hulk. And it was weird because I remember the TV show had a different origin story than the actual comic. Like the origin story for the TV show was he was experimenting on himself to unlock the hidden strength within him, and he used some gamma rays, and that's what created the Hulk. But I was confused at first because the comic book and the cartoon version, it shows the gamma bomb, and that's how he became the Hulk. Another great example was the actual 80s Hulk cartoon. I thought that was a great version of the character that used to come on Saturday mornings. And what I liked about that version is I think they portrayed his face the right way. Because I think a lot of people miss, at least these days anyway, a lot of people and a lot of artists miss the idea of how the Hulk should look. The Hulk should look angry. and actually should look a little bit scary. And that's what I always kind of enjoyed about that cartoon, is that he actually does kind of look a little bit scary in the face. You know, he is a monster at the end of the day. That's what kind of separates him from a lot of other superheroes or comic book characters, in that the fact that he's more of like a monster that in a way just sort of happens to do the right thing. Like, if I can compare the Hulk to any other character in pop culture, I would compare him to Godzilla. Like, that's almost like a perfect analogy. I mean, they're both created by some sort of radiation, but also they're monsters in and of their own right, so they could fight the military and people are always trying to get rid of them, but they're also monsters who fight even worse monsters that will probably destroy the world if they weren't there. So I think that is a great parallel for the Hulk, is Godzilla. I even did some fan art years ago of the Hulk fighting Godzilla. So, you know, I think a lot of people miss that, though, the fact that the Hulk is actually a monster. They go for more of the superhero route, or they try to go into outer space with it and stuff like that. If yours truly was ever to just do a Hulk movie or series, I would concentrate more on the monster part of it, and maybe even the first issue trying to have the military or whoever trying to stop him, and then maybe in a sequel introduce other monsters like the Abomination and the Leader and whatnot. So I would say, you know, when you're drawing the Hulk, and when you're coming up with, if you're drawing the Hulk at all, is to make him more bulky. Like, he's muscular, yes, but I don't think you should go so much trying to make him look like a typical bodybuilder. You know what I mean? I think if you go look up the word Hulk in the dictionary, it does have a very specific meaning, and that meaning fits the character very well based on his first appearance. The fact that his body is almost square-like, almost like a giant hunk of metal or something like that. Like, that's where it should kind of come off as when you're designing the character. It's very bulky. I think when you're drawing his face, while, you know, like I said before, the eyes, they should look very angry. Maybe add some dark circles around the eyes, like around the brow and underneath the eyes. His face should look a little bit deformed as well, because I think that adds to the weirdness of the character. Like, don't try to draw typical proportions. As you can see in my drawing, I drew his nose very high up, kind of like right under where his eyes are, and I kind of elongated the top lip and extended out those muscles on where his jawline is kind of a little bit more deformed. It's a lot bigger than an actual jawline would actually be. So, you know, like I said, always think about the monster aspect of this character. And like I said, I'm just drawing a bust, so you don't see the entire body, but, you know, I always kind of widened everything out. He's almost kind of like going straight down, like a very almost like a brick or something like that. Just very big, huge, and wide, just like the actual definition of the word Hulk actually means. So, excuse me, some of the best artists, I think, who did a great job in portraying how the Hulk should look is one of the classic artists, and one of the first artists I saw that I really enjoyed doing some Hulk drawing was Sal Buscema. If you go look at some of his artwork, he has the right look in the face as far as a Hulk that looks angry and looks very fearsome and is very much more monster-like. I think he does a great job. Another one that I liked when I was growing up was John Byrne. While he's not my favorite like Hulk artist, I always liked how John Byrne drew figures and how he drew people. I think he does actually a very good job in drawing the Hulk. I actually had that issue where the Hulk fights Doc Samson. I wish I still had it. I do vividly remember having it when I was a child. I don't know what the hell happened to that issue. I wish I still had it. And of course, for a lot of us who came of age in the late 80s, early 90s, we all know Dale Keown's version of the Hulk is almost kind of like the definitive Hulk for a lot of people my age. You know, we remember when Dale Keown was drawing the Hulk at that time, and he drew them both, the Green Hulk and the Gray Hulk, very well. And then coming up with the newer version where all the three personalities were combined, he drew that extremely well. Like, I still have those original issues. Like, some of them are actually falling apart, where that issue where all the Hulks, the two Hulks and Dr. Banner combined, that issue was actually falling apart, but I still have it, and I actually got it signed by Peter David, by the way. But yeah, those three artists I think are probably the definitive Hulk artists, and I think they did the character a great service. So if you want to look up any of them and see how to draw the Hulk, that's the best way to go. I hope you have enjoyed this first version of Fan Art Fridays. I enjoyed having you here. If you are a fan of my artwork, make sure you go ahead and like this video, and make sure you go ahead and subscribe, because we'll be doing a lot more of these Fan Art Fridays. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe, so that way you can follow the next time that I upload any of them and get that notification when it comes through. Okay, so thank you guys for joining me. I appreciate you all, and I hope to see you here next Friday when I do some more fan art. Anyway, Chris Crazyhouse signing out. Peace.